Good morning, students. How are you all? Today, I'm just going to give you a quick recapitulation of whatever we have done in the class. When our school was started in the month of March, so we have done few basic concepts related to national income accounting. So just in this session, a quick recapitulation of whatever we have done, and then we'll begin further. So students, we started with in our school itself, we started with the first chapter of macroeconomics, that is circular flow of income. So I taught you, first of all, I will be a little quick in explaining you because this is just a brief or the gist of whatever have already been taught to you. So the circular flow of income, in this context, I told you about the three phases of circular flow of income, that there are three phases of circular flow of income, that is production, distribution, and disposition. Production, in this phase, what has been done? The production of goods and services takes place. In case of distribution, the distribution of income takes place to the various factors of production in the form of factor income. Now, these factors of production are four in number, as was told to you: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Land gets in return, that is rent. Labor, wages and salary. Capital, interest. And entrepreneur gets in return profit. So these are the in the distribution phase, that is the second phase. The distribution of income takes place in this different form. Now, after one gets the income, suppose I am working, so I get my salary. So after I get my income, what do I do with that income? Of course, I'm going to spend it. So that is known as disposition phase. That in other terms, I can also call it as an expenditure phase. So I'm going to spend the salary. So spend on what? On the daily necessities, consumption of goods and services, which is being produced by the firm. So ultimately, I can say, what is circular flow of income? Circular flow of income refers to the cycle of generation of income, its distribution to the factors of production, which are four in number, and finally its consumption expenditure done by the households on goods and services produced by the firm. So this is what do we mean by circular flow of income. Then there are two types of circular flow of income, that is real flow and money flow. Real flow, wherein there is no involvement of money, and in case of money flow, only money flows. So as been told to you, as per your syllabus, the scope of syllabus, we are only restricted, or we are only going to study the two sectors of macroeconomics, though there are four sectors existing, that is the household, the firm, the government, and the foreign sector. But according to our scope of syllabus, we are only going to study the two sectors, that is the households and the firm. So keeping these two sectors in mind, if I talk about real flow, so what exactly happens in real flow? In case of real flow, what happens is that the firm, what it transfers to the household, the firm transfers the firm transfers consumption of, the goods and services to the household. So household gets goods and services from the firm, and the household, what do they do in return for the firm? They provide factor services in the form of rent, labor, then capital and interest. So these services they provide. So this is what is real flow. But on the contrary, when I talk about money flow, so what does it depict? It depicts that the firm is paying to the household the factor income in the form of rent, wages and salary, interest and profit. And in return, household, what they are doing for the firm, whatever goods and services they were purchasing from the firm, so they are making payment against that. So consumption expenditure, I can call it as. So only money involvement in case of money flow, and in real flow there is no money involvement. Next, it was also taught to you the difference between the term stock and flow. Now, what is stock and what is flow? Stock, when we talk about, so that is a variable which is measured at a point of time, and stock is a variable which is measured at a point of time, and flow is a variable which is measured over a period of time. So let's take an example to understand this. Students, a very good example which is enumerated in your book also, when you open the tap, so that is what? The water flows from the tap. But where the tank, where you store the water, so that is what you have, the stock of water which is in the tank, and opening the tap is flow of water. So that flow is measured over a period of time, and the water which is stored in the tank is measured at a point of which is at a point of time. So now students, one more thing to be specified here is that we can take certain examples, some economic example, to in order to understand these two concepts. Now this period of time can be a period of a week, a fortnight, a month, a year, anything, right? And point of time means right now. So if I talk about bank balance is a stock concept. The reason behind, because it can be only measured at a point of time. But if I talk about national income, so national income is always measured for an accounting year. So the period of time is 1 year. So it is a flow concept. Even if I talk about the production of cars in Delhi for the year 2017. So for the year 2017, that means I'm talking here about the complete year 2017. So again, this is a flow concept. The period of time is 1 year. But sale of car as on 31st December 2001 in Delhi. So this is a point of time I've specified here. So this is a stock concept. Then after in this chapter, so this is what you studied. Then I also taught you the basic concepts of macroeconomics, the national related to national income accounting, wherein domestic territory, normal resident, factor income, transfer income, final good, intermediate good, the concept of net investment and gross investment, the concept of net indirect tax, factor cost and market price, as well as the concept of national to domestic and domestic to national, that is net factor income from abroad, was already taught to you. Now, a little, gist of these topics. I'll take only one topic today and then we'll continue with the other further topics in the next video. So I talk about domestic territory. So students, a very simple thing when we talk about this term domestic territory is that whatever lies within the domestic territory of your country. Now, domestic boundaries, it can also be known as political frontiers, or it can also be known as economic territory. So any way you call it. So that which lies within the domestic territory of any country. That means in economics, we talk only about the production of goods and services. So the production of goods and services which takes place only within the domestic territory of your country is your domestic territory. But in economics, we use this term in a wider sense. And there are three cases. That which does not lie within the domestic territory of your country, but still it is a part of domestic territory of your country. What are those? The first one, I talk about all the aircraft or the airlines, right? And I'll take an example to make you understand this. A flight of Indian Airlines, which runs, Indian Airlines means related to India, owned and operated by India. Now, it runs between Russia to Japan and Japan to Russia. That means it never comes to India. It is only running between these two countries. So it does not lie within the domestic territory of India, but still it will be considered the domestic territory of India only. So in case of airlines, aircrafts, what happens is that no matter wherever the area of travel is, but the country which owns and operates these, they will be the domestic territory of that particular country. Next, number 2. We talk about all the waterways wherein you talk about fishing vessels, floating rigs or whatever. So when you talk about all the waterways, now any waterways which travels in Indian Ocean. Now Indian Ocean, though it is Indian Ocean, but it does not lie within the domestic territory of India, right? But it has got an international right to travel in the international waterways. So in this case, the waterways, they will be the domestic territory of that country to which they belong to, as in the case of airlines. The third case is we talk about the embassies, military establishments and consulates. So Indian embassy will not be located in India, but in all the other countries. Similarly, all the other countries' embassies can be located in India, right, but not in their own country. So Indian embassy located in America, right? So when Indian embassy is located in America, so that though the location is in the country America, within the domestic territory of America, but still it will be the domestic territory of India and not of America. So I hope this is clear. Next I'm going to even tell you about, students, 2 exceptions related to this concept, that is domestic territory. The first one is that when we talk about any embassy situated in India, like in the previous example, I was talking about inclusion. Now I'm going to talk about exclusion. So if American embassy is located in India, so it is not the domestic territory of India, rather it is the domestic territory of America. Clear? The second thing is related to international organizations. Now, international organizations, there are around, we can count the number of international organizations existing. The few examples is World Health Organization, UNO, then UNICEF, then International Monetary Fund. So these all are what? The names of international organization. Now, these international organization, any office, suppose WHO office situated in India. So it will be the domestic territory of which country? It will be the domestic territory of the country to, or not of the country, rather it will be the domestic territory of that international area to which it belonged to and not of India. So that is again an exception or an exclusion, that it is lying in India but not the part of India. So this is what the concept of domestic territory, which we already studied, but still it was required to give a gist of the same. Thank you so much. In the next session, we are going to continue with the few other concepts, and then straight away, I'm going to teach you the concept which will relate you to the numericals of national income accounting. Thank you so much.